So imagine waiting a whole year for part 3 of a trilogy.
Yeah.
And that part 3 is just a dude lying in a white box for 3 episodes.
I'd rather be lying in a white box.
Hey everyone!
Hey guys! Welcome!
Welcome back to Doctor Who Review. Man and wife. Watching Doctor Who all the way through from the very beginning. We have now reached pretty much the 2-year mark in terms of where we're recording this of our marathon.
Yeah. God. Wowza!
And we've gone through 4 Doctors. We've gone through an average of 2 Docs per year. I have a feeling by this time next year we'll probably be into the modern era.
Yeah, I think so.
So... Well,
thanks to lockdown, we got through quite a fair bit.
We've been ploughing, although the way you guys are seeing it is you're seeing it like about a month out of sync.
Yeah, so we're not in... are we still in... Is there still a lockdown? I've just thought.
Yes and no.
I'm back at work, so
yes
I'm still
and no. You're meant to stay home where possible, but you're also meant to go to work because the government would rather you try to fix our economy than them, despite there being safeguards in place where they would spend money to do it. But they don't want to spend money to do it because it means their big insurance pals, who would be the ones paying out, would lose money, and they don't want that to happen because they don't want to pee their friends off. Anyway!
And also, I can meet strangers whilst I'm working in my job, but I can't go and see my family. Where does that make sense, Boris Johnson?
Well,
anyway.
This is why we've travelled back to 1982 in a form of escapism.
A simpler time.
My name is Chris.
I am not Chris.
And this is a freshly bathed Minnie who will be running
like
around.
Wet dog.
She smells like wet dog. It's not fun.
Better than the smell she smelled of before.
Yeah. Dirty.
Mystery stank.
Mystery stank. It's the start of Peter Davison. Peter, a pumpkin eater. He doesn't eat pumpkin, but he does eat celery very briefly at the start of the season. We might do. We don't know. We're not ones to judge.
Does he like pumpkin?
Oh, dirty pumpkin boy!
Oh dear.
Oh, we're going to be up front. This is the first time I've seen a handful of these stories. This is the first time Lucy's seen any of these stories. This is probably the last time Lucy's going to see any of these stories again.
Yeah, 110 million %.
And I don't really find myself...
It's a billion % Steely Dan.
It's a billion % Steely Dan. I don't find myself likely to go back to many of these beyond the ones I knew I enjoyed anyway. This is the first full series with everything new, and everything that carries on from last series is a product of the now... head of the show, John Nathan Turner's decision-making, including the companion lineup, the new actor for the Doctor, what enemies return, what enemies are introduced, etc., etc., etc. Starting with Castrovalva. This carries on directly from the end of the Keeper of Traken, not the Keeper of Traken, Logopolis, from the end of last series. We pick back up at the Faros Project as the security is like, "Oh, the bloody hell are you not doing it? Oh, get back with it." And Tegan, Nyssa, and Adric show some pretty good initiative because they managed to basically nick an ambulance and faff around and drive it to the TARDIS and get the Doctor the hell out of there so they can escape without being reprimanded. So I do kind of like the fact that it picks up almost immediately afterwards. But I think that's because of in our marathon, it's quite a cool idea. I'm wondering whether or not it would have been better for them to have started like mid-flight or something and then going, there's something wrong with him. It's like ever since we got him out of there. Do you know what I mean? Because it's a cool little sequence, them nicking the ambulance, but imagine, there was like a 9-month gap between these stories.
It wasn't really a cool sequence, because they didn't go very far.
Well, no, but they did what they needed to do.
Approximately 20 metres.
But they did what they needed to do, which is the important thing.
They left Adric behind.
Yeah, who gets nabbed by the Master.
Oh, no.
Making this officially a trilogy of stories.
Sneaky Master.
And the Master begins an elaborate-ass revenge plan. In the meantime...
I'm assuming he just kind of came up with...
Well, Time Lord stuff, isn't it? Like, to us, it seems like everything happens in the same time it does for the Doctor.
She's just had a bath, and every time she has a bath, she gets really hyper because she hates it. And so now you are experiencing
what we have to go
zoomies.
Oh,
geez.
What seems to us like the time it takes for Tegan and Nyssa to help the Doctor to the Zero Room and then go, right, we're going to Castrovalva and then get to Castrovalva. For the Master, could have been months, could have been a couple of years, the stuff he was doing. Adric could have been imprisoned for like a year, for all we know. We'll get to that. So this is the first time the regeneration is going wrong. Like each time, there's been a bit of adjustment where the Doctor's kind of settling into themselves.
Yeah.
Especially with the last two, but this time it's gone wrong. And he's panicking, he's regressing, he starts talking like the first and second incarnations. There's and I really like this, but I can imagine it was a big FU to people who love Tom's Doctor, but I think the symbolism's quite striking. He goes into the TARDIS and the first thing he does to make sure he doesn't get lost is he leaves a trail by unpicking his scarf.
Unravels the wool and
stuff. And by the which is why this
devastating.
toy's like pretty inaccurate, really, because he's only like this for about 5 seconds, but whatever. But he but I think it's kind of a nice bit of symbolism. It's like, hey, guess what? That era's done.
Yeah.
Like, and we are going in a different direction. The Doctor's like, I'm buggering to pieces, mate. I'm falling about a bit. Adric's with them.
Yeah.
It's not Adric now, isn't it? And also, the Doctor gets taken to the Zero Room, which is a place in the TARDIS of like complete calm. Essentially, it's a healing chamber.
Yeah.
But something's got askew, and the only way they're going to fix it is if they go to a place called Castrovalva, which the Doctor knows about. It's a place that has been known to him and others for ages, like a place of great healing. It's essentially, let's face it, it's basically Logopolis, but instead of maths, it's just feeling a bit better. Isn't it? Like, it's the same bloody thing.
It's like a giant spa.
It's like Christopher H. Bidby was just like, so each planet is a service, and that's all they do.
We're all gonna read.
Yeah, so they get there, but we learn over the course of the story that Castrovalva was never real. It was always an artificial construct. I mean, the twist at the end is it was always an artificial construct that the Master had come up with specifically to one day lure them there.
Yeah.
So he's gone back to the beginning of whatever and crafted this lie and seeded it to the point where the Doctor's always known about it as a place, but it never existed in the first place. Which is kind of brilliant. Like, as a plan, I kind of like that. That if you're going to set up a trap as a Time Lord, establish something like 1,000,000 years ago,
yeah.
And then it's yours.
It's thorough, isn't it? It's almost a shame that they never work.
Yeah.
They put so much effort into it.
Well, that's what's hilarious, because he's this like kindly librarian archivist character in the story. I just want to pull it up because I don't want to get the character names wrong. Of course, it's Anthony Ainley reprising the role from the Niddle. The Portreeve, that's it. Yeah, the costumes in general in this one are good. Like Ruther and Murgrave and Shardavan, like all their costumes are really interesting.
I like the maidens in the town in the little village. They've got like sun hats, but they're like plastic.
Yeah,
and I just thought that was really cool.
Yeah,
it's a good futuristic kind of twang.
But the thing is, it's the problem is with Castrovalva, it suffers from what a lot of these locations do, which is in our first full episode with it, which in this is like bits of episode 2, because it takes freaking ages to get there.
Because Tegan and Nissa are carrying...
Keep dropping the wheelchair into the bloody river. And,
They chose to put it on a wheelchair instead of carry it, even though it didn't weigh anything.
Yeah, God.
Hell, ladies.
But they when they get there, it's like, oh, cool, this courtyard set and everything's really cool. And then you see it all the time, and you go, ah. Because we know in reality they've got like one set. But I was looking at a thing the other day. I'm trying to remember which story it was for. Someone on Twitter had put together, it was like Who VFX, or one of those accounts, had put together something like, I think it was during the filming of The Face of Evil or something like that, where it was like 7 different sets. The set designers, this is like 4 or 5 series ago, the set designer had constructed all like 7 locations for that story in one studio. So they were all small, but they'd constructed all of these sets together. So literally the cameras just had to move to the left, set up for shots here, go in. There was a bit of depth to each set, so they could go in. And I remember that story, the first one with Leela. That looks amazing.
Yeah, it does.
Like the jungles and the laboratory and the tribe huts and
the old ship and
Zoannon, like the chambers of the ship and the computer and the screaming Tom Baker head and all that stuff, like the big carved Tom Baker head in the rock.
And you gradually able to see, oh, this is actually a spaceship and not like a primal tribe.
It's just, I feel like Castrovalva's like, they made a really great courtyard.
And that's it.
But it's these are things that we've talked about this before. Some of these stories from this era would absolutely have benefited from being just one episode shorter.
Yeah.
Condensed
Or just
the plot.
one episode.
well, this series we get our first very small story for a long time.
And it was refreshing.
Yeah, but this is basically just... The Doctor's asleep for a lot of it.
That's always a good sign.
And it's the second or third one Peter Davison shot, so there's hints of the Doctor to come in this story, more so than there are in the next two, which were shot first. And he's really good at this when we get to see him. It's like, oh, this guy's he's a bit more dashing, a bit more like,
out of breath.
He's sort of seemingly kind of a bit of a, just like a tiny bit foppish, but then gets to business and gets quite stern when he needs to be assertive.
Shouts. This Doctor shouts. He's not sassy and mean like Tom. He actually shouts. Sorry, I got something in my mouth. He actually shouts. I'm quite impressed.
Between the gasps for breath.
Yeah, I didn't get that.
You didn't notice it at first, did you?
No.
Until like halfway through the series.
Now I can't not see it, and it's very annoying.
Doctor, would you like a cup of tea? Yes. I don't see why not. Let's have another.
You should see the face.
2 sugars.
You should see the face he's
Well, the straight face. So, Peter,
milk.
it's
2
pretty solid
lumps.
in this.
2 sugars.
How many sugars? No, how many lumps? 2. How many sugars? 2. Anthony Ainley's fun in this, but it kind of sucks that the Master's scheme is so long and like so meticulous for this moment. And he gets this Master, clearly, this incarnation is like, do you know what I really loved about one of my older incarnations? Disguising myself. So he's doing that a lot more in this, and he clearly gets into it in this. And I think it was like one episode into us seeing the Portreeve, and you went, "That's the Master, isn't it?" Like, it wasn't at first, so it's like they did a good job. Do you know what I mean?
I'm getting good at this calling the Master out.
But they did a good job, right? Like, because you didn't realise at first, like, that it was him. It was like an episode, and you went, "That's the Master."
No, I kind of go like, "Is this a Master story?" And Chris was like, "What makes you think that?" And as soon as you say, "What makes you think that?" I'm like, "It's a Master story."
But then he gets the Doctor there, and he's already been in his presence. And yet, once he's brought back in the casket from the Zero Room, he suddenly's like, "Right, let's get him out, let's get him out." It's like, you've been with him for like a whole episode, and he's literally using like it's not a crowbar, it's the things used to stoke the fire in the mantelpiece. He's using that to try and hack into the casket, and you're like, why would you play it cool for potentially a year, for like 1,000,000 years worth of work? And then just be like, "Right, fucking get out! Come on!" It's like, that impatience just seems so unlike him.
You had to wait till the camera crew arrived.
Oh, funny. Let's talk about the boner in the room. I mean, let's talk about the...
I'm stranger danger, I don't feel comfortable. Somebody call the police.
Adric is caught in a web, and basically Adric's mathematical brain is being used as the computer to fuel Castrovalva. It exists because he's being used as a battery. So it's entirely likely that Castrovalva has only physically existed, like, for the last day. But everyone's heard about it.
Yeah.
Because he's planted that seed.
So people have literally just talked about it throughout time.
Yeah.
That's quite interesting.
Adric, see, there's some great ideas in this series. It's just the executions, man. Matthew Waterhouse is playing this, not like someone hooked up to a machine who's being mentally tortured. He's playing this like he's having some very specific thoughts. And his body is reacting accordingly.
It's as if he's
There will be a lot of people who enjoy this story for reasons they were not intending for you to enjoy this story. That's all I'm saying.
Let's just say
an attractive young actor is writhing around in a thing, making very exerted sort of breathing sounds.
Let's just say the Master is a bit of a dominator in this this story.
What, he's working with the Quarks? No, wrong Dominator. Do you remember that?
Oh, dude.
He's little falling over. Little kids in costume falling over. So there's that. and also,
well, yeah,
he seems to be absolutely standing to attention for these scenes. It seems it's debatable, but it's also like
I don't
good
think.
God.
I think it's semi.
And also, let's not forget the freaking cherry picker.
Oh, the master's cherry picker.
we need to fill a minute in this episode. Can the master hover up to Andric, but us just linger
Take
on it?
as long as you want.
I don't like Castrovalva. I think it's
boring.
really, really dull.
It was stupid, and it took too long to get to where it wanted to. Also, it forgot it was a kids. It's a kids show, and
So we have a way-in character. We have Tegan, who can ask the three aliens she's travelling with, one who's a super scientist, one who's a super mathematician, and the other who's a doctor of pretty much everything.
I was going to say, and the other one's Nissa.
Poor Sarah Sutton.
Oh, bless her.
We could, Tegan could be the perfect way-in character, but she doesn't ask the questions.
No.
And she's not, at this point anyway, she's not someone we know, because she's just complaining and scared.
And is making all the wrong choices.
Yeah, so it's, I do not care for Castrovalva. And the thing is, I always think of this as the end of a trilogy because of the New Beginnings box set that the last two stories of season 18 and this story from season 19 come in. And it's sad because Keeper of Traken is head and shoulders the best of the three stories.
Yeah.
And then Legopolis has its moments, but it's kind of dull.
I don't like to think of them as a trilogy. I just like to think of
Tom.
Yeah, I miss Tom.
But not a great start.
No.
Now, I had never seen this before. Fort to Doomsday. The guys arrive on effectively a satellite orbiting Uith. They get there, the Doctor goes out and has a little pokey. There seems to be an atmospheric thing, so they're always...
Tells everybody to stay inside, and thus nobody stays inside. Classic Doctor thing there. Tegan wanting to... I'm not listening to your Australian accent, sorry.
I was like, we need to not slip into that every review.
Sorry, it's really hard not to. I love the Australian accent, it's just so comfortable to talk in. Anyway,
but like, they all butt out. There's an atmospheric thing, so there's a lot of wearing helmets in this one, which I think are quite cool. They're sort of like Ant-Man. Like old school Ant-Man helmets.
But what it made me think of...
As glimpsed in Avengers Endgame for the layman.
What it made me think of was when... is it this one that made me think of the Simpsons episode where it starts off with them watching this sci-fi show, and it's supposed to be like a rip-off of Star Trek or something, and the oxygen's gone from inside the room that they're in.
Yeah.
They say, quick, put on your space goggles or something, and they literally just put like a scuba mask on.
Yeah.
And then they're like, even though it's only covering their eyes.
Yeah.
It's like, that's what this is.
Big open faces. But they get there and they're being followed around by this floaty ball CCTV robot thing. But they're ultimately greeted by the lizard-esque monarch and his right-hand lady and gentleman, enlightenment and persuasion. And basically Monarch's like, hey, everything's going to be great. I'm a good man. I'm a good man. You should totally trust me. I'm not an evil frogman.
Pull up a web.
We're going to put up a web bus.
You know, as poo as this series was, we did have fun.
That's the thing. Castrovalva, I don't rate it, but we had a laugh. Because it was just bad in some place. So,
because when the web first came up, I was like, whoa, what the hell is going on? And Christopher was already laughing before it started.
So Enlightenment and Persuasion take on human appearances based on sketches Tegan does of like what humans wear nowadays. For some reason she designed like what people look at the Bullingdon Club.
Fabulous sketch in like 3 minutes.
It was pretty good.
She was.
We learn that there are scholars from different, not only countries, not different continents, but eras of time on the ship, and it eventually becomes clear that this cultural experiment aboard this ship is actually part of a long gestating plan to dominate and change the Earth as Monarch sees fit. Like, we learn that, essentially, Monarch is like, I'm going to make the Earth a better place by killing everyone on it and replacing them with duplicates. He has a deadly poison on board that he's going to use to either hold the world to ransom and deal with, make a deal with him, or if they don't, he's going to kill them. But he's doing this all through, like, the pretense of, like, no, we come to planets, we make them better, and I'll show them how to live a better life. And it's like, yeah, by ruling over them. But he totally believes himself, doesn't he? He doesn't seem to be like, no, this is my plan. Mm-hmm. He thinks he's in the right.
Yeah.
He was kind of cool. The actor Stratford Johns got an easy job because he got to wear heavy makeup, yes, but he also sits down for 90% of the story.
Yeah, the goals.
Yeah.
Acting goals.
This was tough in places.
I'm not gonna lie, pretty much switched off.
Nyssa
Required a lot of it.
Nyssa's just kind of there. Adric sides with Monarch. In a way we're like, really, dude? Really? It's so bizarre.
And you think that he's doing it just to get on their side and, find out information and stuff.
But
no, he's just a dick. Sorry for swearing, but he is. That is Adric's description for this whole series.
Yeah. Tegan, again, just kind of there. The Doctor feels like he's just kind of there, but I think that's because this was the first Peter recorded. So there's always a story early in every new Doctor series where you can sort of get the sense they're feeling around a bit. Except for, I'd say, John Pertwee, because in John Pertwee's, I think Spearhead was the first one they shot because of the strike, and as a result they shot it mostly chronologically, and you got the sense of building on the character from the ground up.
Yeah.
Whereas here, in this one, the Doctor's kind of he's dictated by his costume. I mean, he, in a genuinely cool bit of sci-fi and physics, is cut off from the satellite, the ship, lost in space as the TARDIS is floating away, and he uses a cricket ball to rebound himself back, toward the TARDIS by bouncing off the side of the ship.
That was fun.
In a bit of genuine physics. And it's like, that's cool.
I'm not sure that would actually work.
No, it would. I was told this on Twitch the other day, where I mentioned that we watched the story, and people were like, the thing is, that's based on genuine...
Has somebody tried it?
I don't think anyone's been stuck in space with a cricket ball and a time machine to try it, but sure.
Maybe we should try it.
No, let's not do that.
Let's fund it. Let's use the government funding.
There's some cool stuff there, because Enlightenment and Persuasion come in on the attack to try and stop what's happening, and the Doctor and Adric basically have to beat the piss out of them, fend them off.
How do they do it? Do they just knock them out, or do they... I
think Adric got a bit rough and tumble with them, if I remember correctly.
They just kind of switched off, didn't they?
Oh no, that's it. Yeah, because there's some technical inhibitors in them and stuff. Because we learn from what's his face? Is it Bygone? Is that his name? The elderly gentleman who's from the Greek philosophers era. He basically turns around to him and he's like, "Yeah, I'm not the real person they took from Earth anymore. They did at some point in history plucked me from Earth." And they've done that with all of us, and they've promised all of the people here, including bloody Burt Kwok, is in it as Lin Fu too. I was like, oh my god, it's Kato! Holy shit! From Pink Panther. I was like, oh my god! But and many other things, but I always think of him as Kato. They've all basically been promised rule over their own continents when they get back.
Yeah.
And it's like, wait, what? And none of them are doing it really for aha, yes, we'll rule. They're doing it because they're we'll be able to bring this enlightenment and everything there and let everyone see what we can do to save the planet. And your old Greek man's we're not even really the people they plucked anymore. Along the way, our bodies get converted. We're robots. And you're like, wait, what? And Nyssa at one point nearly gets put into the process, which is going to be turned into a robot. Where essentially the outer shell is sustained, but the inside is a mix of mechanical parts, including Enlightenment and Persuasion, it turns out. Yeah. They're not even real anymore. Monarch is probably the only one of his species that's real, left anymore.
Just remembered something.
What, the massive cultural displays that last the entire runtime of episodes?
No, I've just realised.
Because that's where this lost me. Like, we're gonna, like, the indigenous tribe and you know the Chinese dragon dance and all these things. It's like, that's cool, but they keep doing it.
Just
and
on
they
repeat.
keep showing it, and it's like, again, suggest this is happening, cut back and forth from it, lose an episode. It just dragged so badly.
So hard. I did switch off.
But on the upside, two really strong things in the last episode. The Doctor basically calls Adric a pissant and bollocks him for picking the wrong side, which is quite nice. But in a social situation where they're having to pretend that everything's fine, so he's just sort of like quietly being like, right, listen here, you ignorant little shit. And just like having a proper go at him. And then the other thing is, we learn that the poison, if applied to monarch species, can cause basically shrinkage.
Miniaturization.
So at the end, he gets hit with the poison, shrunk, and the Doctor just traps him under his helmet. He's like, right, he's in there.
It's absurd.
You guys on the satellite, you've rebelled against him now. You guys figure out what you're doing. Bye!
It's like that one that was like the taxes one, where they just shrunk
The
that guy down
Sunmakers into his airplane toilet seat.
No, you will not. No.
I didn't care for Fort of Doomsday.
No.
It was kind of boring.
It was so boring. Oh, it was so boring.
A dear friend of ours, Crystal, once joked when she joined Doctor Who Time Team. Well, she didn't joke. She said she's had to watch a lot of Doctor Who over the years on 1.5 fast forward. And really, and this is what people misinterpreted it like crazy. They were like, that is such an ignorant thing to say. How dare you? Like, you're supposed to enjoy it properly. Like, why would you say fast forward? The reason she's had to watch a lot of classic Who on fast forward was for work. At the time, she worked for the Doctor Who the fan show. And had to do a lot of research, and sometimes you've only got a limited window where you need to sort of watch material to absorb it, like when you're working on featurettes. Yeah. And if you can have the subs on and fast forward through it, an hour and a half story becomes just over 45 minutes long.
We should do that in the future.
Now, Crystal she's since joked about it and taken the mick and said, like, well, I always watch it on 1.5, just to annoy people who got really pissy about it, and I don't blame. But this is a story I wish we'd watched on 1.5 fast forward.
I wish we'd watched this whole series.
Crawls! So, yeah, that's... Crawl. Nick Kroll.
Kroll. Oh, Nick Kroll.
Kinder.
Stay away from my daughter.
Stay away from my daughter. Can you explain what the hell this is?
Which one is it?
Kinder.
Oh, I don't remember. Oh.
They
arrive on this planet.
Yeah, Diva Loca is the planet. Yeah.
Living la Diva Loca. Sure, I made that joke at the time. Yeah, they're on this planet, and
there's a research station.
It happens to what?
There's a research station there.
Research station.
Yeah, with Sanders and Todd and Hindle.
Yeah, and you may as well describe it because
you don't remember, do you?
No.
No, okay. So there's a research station.
I remember bits.
They're studying X, Y, and Z, but mostly like behavioural patterns and stuff. It's a military-led operation. You've got one guy in charge, and there's a subordinate who's a bit nervous and a bit worried because some other people have gone out and not come back.
Uh-oh.
There's also like the Doctor, and she's the one who's looking over it all. The main species on this planet are a tribe called the Kinder, who the males don't speak. Only certain females speak, and there's like the head of the tribe. She's the shaman. She talks, and she has like a child who's with her, who's like her disciple.
But she's blind.
Yeah, the elder one. Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah.
Something's going on basically. Someone's taking people from the research station. The elder colonel guy goes out to deal with it, and is given a gift. We realise later the gift. This thing in the box is a thing that basically it's like a healing thing. It's like you gaze upon it and it heals your mind. And it sort of takes you to a bit more of a placid, kind of chilled state for a bit as your head like reasserts itself. But we think he's been driven mad because when he comes back, he's just very vacant and strange. Meanwhile, his cadet, who's been left in charge of the base, is himself going more and more insane with panic
going mad,
at everything that's happening. The people have gone missing, and they have 2 Kinder tribesmen in like the lab, and he's terrified that they're going to kill him, and he sort of like asserts dominance over them, and there's a psychic connection thing happens, and he's losing his mind. So you've got that threat already going on. You've got this guy going nuts and taking over the base and planning to blow things up. He's great.
Yeah.
He's really, really good. In fact, the cast in this are pretty damn great.
Yeah, they
throughout.
are. Well,
yeah.
yeah, the cast that we've not seen yet.
Lamb. The Doctor and team arrive. Nyssa stays in the TARDIS, just cause.
No, she needs to have a nap. Remember?
Oh yeah,
She's having a
freaked out from the end of Fort of Doomsday, so she has a nap.
having a power nap.
Poor Sarah Sutton.
She just really wanted to go on holiday, I think.
Poor Sarah Sutton. No, I think it's because they kept her on, and then they added Tegan, and then as soon as the series went to production, they kind of realised we don't know how to juggle 4 lead characters. Even though the show's done it before, like with Ian and Barbara and Susan, then Ian, Barbara and Vicky alongside the Doctor, like there's ways
Jamie
to do
and Ben
it.
and Polly.
But Jamie, Ben and Polly, and I think it's because you have to define your characters well enough so that they all have a part to play. Whereas in this, they're all just kind of, I talk science, I talk maths, and I'm a git. I just want to go home. I'm an air hostess. I want to go home. And you're like, for Pete's sake. But Tegan and Janet Fielding in particular gets to act a little socks off in this one. She's not in it a lot, but when she is, she makes it count.
I'm sorry, I just need to say, when you said, "Oh, I can't juggle these," I'm just imagining it so funny in a boardroom going, "Well, I can't juggle."
This is how bored you've been this season.
Oh, swear to God.
Oh my God. So,
sorry.
Tegan gets possessed.
Oh, no.
By what we learn later on to be a parasitic life form called the Mara. That kind of essentially burns societies down from the inside.
Any of this.
The Mara lives in Tegan's head and then transfers from Tegan to one of the tribesmen, who then inexplicably is able to talk instead of just communicate psychically.
Oh,
and because he can talk, the people see it as some kind of like prophecy, some game changer. It's like, we've got to get behind this guy, we have to join him. And they start to revolt against the science base. Meanwhile, the elder, she's like, no, this is all part of what it wants, it's a Mara. And the Doctor as well is like, when he sort of reunites properly, he's with the scientist. I can't remember her name now, but she's a great...
She's really good in it.
What's great in this, right, is she's a great companion in this story in a way that makes you go, why are the rest of them in it? I would have loved for a whole season, with just Peter's Doctor, just travelling and meeting people. I would have loved for a season of that, because their chemistry is great in this. Adric doesn't add very much. Tegan is good, but she's not in the story a lot, and that's kind of the point. Like, she's the vessel for this thing to get loose from nightmares. Yeah. The nightmare world she enters into when she first kind of encounters it is great. Yeah. That's so cool. Like that sort of weird, semi-Victorian, theatrical, like Punch and Judy show-esque look to everyone, and they've all got that what looks like a lipstick smear on the teeth. They all have these weird kind of gum marks, and the snake tattoo that transfers from his arm onto her arm when he holds her hand. There's 2 Tegans. And it's like, this stuff is really, really good. Essentially, it's 2 separate stories. The madness going on with the guy inside the base is one threat, and the threat of the Mara is another. And I guess the ticking clock is that this tribe, led by what they don't know to be the Mara, and the stress and the bomb setup and the trigger finger of the base is going to collide, and obviously one is going to completely obliterate the other, and that's kind of the threat, really. But it's just got a really nice atmosphere. It's got a really nice pace. The visions of everything going to shit, the weird jester and the tribe is like a nice kind of funny but also creepy visual. The mech suit idea is great, and in certain shots is great. But in execution, it's hilarious. It's just a box.
It's just... Yeah, but...
Still moves smoother than Davros 2, Electric Boogaloo. It's his legs underneath the thing. And ultimately, when the Kinder is wormed out, it takes the form of the snake, and it gets fucking huge, and they trap it in with a mirror, and it sort of folds in on itself, and it's a really cool practical effect. And then afterwards I showed you the CGI version that they added to this, which is just like an option.
We prefer the puppet one, don't we?
Yeah, puppet one looks great. The CGI one looks great too, but it just sort of... It'd stick out like a sore thumb, I think, if you watch the whole story and then that.
Yeah.
I bet there are other optional effects when you watch the version of the story with it inside. I bet like the tattoo looks different and stuff.
Maybe.
But yeah,
It takes away from the charm if you do that.
The atmosphere of this is great. I had seen this one before, and it's creepy, it's eerie and unpleasant, and you're dealing with people going through states of like mania, where you're like, oh my god, I actually don't know how this is going to turn out. Like when they're building the ideal kind of like citadel out of cardboard and lunch packets and things like that, and they've got his people that he's going to like rule over, and they've just cut out cardboard people.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh my god, the
And the
general
doctor
guy's just going along with it. Like, what is happening?
Hello, I'm a teapot.
When he first came out of the thing, he looked a bit manic. The first thing he said was, hello, I'm a teapot. I was like, oh my god. That's it. That's his character defined. But then we learn at the end, no, he was literally just going along with it to keep the other guy, like, happy and calm. Because then when the other guy looks in the box and his mind, like, kind of goes to a sort of a dulled, placid place, he then starts, his head clears and he becomes more relaxed. I really like Kinder.
Oh, it was good.
I really, really, really like Kinder. And I'm glad you enjoyed it too, because it has a sequel next series.
Oh.
Next series is all returning villains for the show, and one of those stories is a sequel to Kinder. So, surprise on what villain returns in that one! But yeah. Kinder! The first, we actually like this story of the season. The Visitation! I'd never watched The Visitation. I was aware of The Visitation. I knew The Visitation ended with them starting the Great Fire of London. And I knew what a pterodactyl was. I didn't realise just how much it looked like a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle! That had been dipped in a chip van, I think was my description, wasn't it? The one with the scar on his face.
Yeah.
What happened to The Visitation?
Not 100% sure.
Manor house thing arrives, kills the people living in it. The estate,
it's during
is overrun. It's during the time of the bubonic plague, the Black Death.
Yes.
And people have even claimed to be seeing Death himself stalking the small village, and we frickin' see Death in it.
I'll say everybody's very clean for being in the medieval.
Well, there's a whole point, isn't there, of this being like this is a plagueless town. They've not had it yet. So this is obviously somewhere.
Not like plaguey dirty, just dirty in general.
No, but this is it's a small community, and
it wasn't a clean time.
They all look out for each other, and they all look after each other. And the moment they get a whiff that the plague might have arrived in their town, they become violent and they try to kill the people. Like with the Doctor and I'll find the character's name, the actor gentleman who talks like this for the whole story here in The Visitation.
He
was quite good. Richard Mace, played by Michael Robbins. Like the Doctor and Richard are going to be executed when the group suspect that they have the plague. Basically there's a spaceship that has crashed, and there's a thing called the pterodactyl. One of only a handful of them that have apparently survived. This big turtle-looking mother trucker, and effectively what they're going to do is they're going to use the Earth as... It's your standard aliens are going to colonise Earth thing.
I feel like this story's been told many times. But
the way to make it interesting is to visually change things up.
Yeah, which
I think these guys do. The spaceship underground looks great, especially when they go into the hatch. The illusions on the entrances to the tunnels from under the house, where the character's just walking through a wall in shot. And it looks really good, especially the bit that really got used when the Doctor was inside it and he leans out to talk to them all.
Yeah, and he's half in, half out.
Yeah.
That looked good.
That looks great. The pterodactyl's a great design, and there's a bit of puppetry and animatronics work going on there. Like, the lips are moving.
Do you know what? That might be one of my favourite costumes ever.
It looks good.
Because I laughed at it at first, and you're like, wait a second, give it its due.
Give it a mo, yeah.
Because look at the way its mouth is moving, and I was like, oh my god, it is moving.
Yeah.
Properly talking. And I didn't realise at first that the reason his face was melty was because he'd been, like, injured.
It was in the crash,
Yeah.
Because you see the other pterodactyls later on.
And they're absolutely fine. And he's, like, missing an eye, and his face is melting, and it's like, oh.
You loved his disguise, didn't you? It's going to fool everyone, that.
Cape.
A cloak, yeah. And his robot's great. It's sort of like... It's almost kind of... almost kind of Punch and Judy-esque kind of like it's very it's very Pierrot, very clown-like. It's got like the red and blue markings on its face.
I thought that was really cool.
And when it's disguised as Death, it's pretty spooky as well. With the big old sigh and like that metallic. Well, there it is. That sort of metallic version of a skull for a face. Like that stuff's really cool.
Imagine seeing that as a person.
I saw Death, Doctor. I saw the Grim Reaper himself.
God, that would absolutely shit you up, wouldn't it? Sorry, excuse me.
I wouldn't, don't worry, I've said the F word of this one. I wouldn't be surprised if Michael Robbins was cast as Richard Mace and then they went, well, he's sort of highwayman, but let's make him an actor as well. Because this guy's just this guy's just the most. But he was a really enjoyable performance.
It was, and
but it was very kind of like, oh, hello, this is how I talk.
I'm eating the whole scene.
I'm devouring the scenery like a plague rat.
I liked his voice.
He was fun. I liked him too.
Thing is, though, he was very accepting of what was happening.
Well, he was in denial a lot, but he kind of saw that they meant their intention was good, so he'd go with them and he'd go along with them. But yeah, what you're saying is you think he would have been like witchcraft and then just like set fire to them all.
Yeah, essentially.
It takes a turn when we realise that the colonisation plan essentially is going to begin with the eradication of all major human life in all major metropolitan cities, beginning with metropolitan's the wrong word for this time.
I know.
beginning with the poison that like the Pteroleptils brought around is going to be implemented into the rats, and those rats are going to be set loose in London. So the finale, the end of the episode, takes place in London as they like barrel their way there. Because of course at the start of this they're meant to be going to Heathrow and they miss it basically by like I think he says something like 100 miles and something like 100 miles and 300 years. Like, oh bugger.
And Tinker's just like, oh for God's sake, just take me home.
Take me to church.
See, I didn't do an Australian accent then.
Yeah, in many ways, but not for that. In other ways.
Oh.
So
that'll do it. I'll do it instead.
So they get there, and the thing that it basically results in them causing the Great Fire of London. They're like, "Oh God, we should put out the fire," and the Doctor puts two and two together, and he's like, "No, I don't think we should." And he gets into the TARDIS. It's a nice little sort of bit of history at the end because he doesn't explain it outright. He just sort of talks about the time and place and where they are on the map. That was cool, where they use like the old map. Because they were trying to figure out where they were and they couldn't, and then they used like an old map from thingy, and they were like, "There it is. That's where we actually are." Yeah. And yeah, it's as the TARDIS disappears, you see the street sign behind where it was, and it said Pudding Lane, and you're like, "Oh, it's the Great Fire of London!" And
they were gonna. The Doctor wanted to take What's It with them, didn't he? But then he was like, "No, I'm better off staying here and putting this out and stuff."
Yeah.
And it was like, oh.
I'd
have rather the rest of them stayed.
In the fire.
Go with them. Right in that fire.
Go over there, Tegan. Good day. Goodbye, Andy.
Heathrow's just through that door, Tegan.
Well, we then zip ahead to the Roaring Twenties in Black Orchid. Yes. And you didn't believe me at all when I said this. I said this is the last purely historical story. We've not had any since, I think Paddy. Yeah, the Highlanders, I think, is like the last truly historical, which of course we didn't get to see, but I think that's the last pure historical.
Jimmy.
And Jimmy! And I said that and you were like, I was like, I'm not trying to trick you, this is legit, I'm not covering up a twist.
What did we?
It's the last scene.
No, Doctor!
I just put him in the zero room.
That's what he's trying to do.
It's the last purely historical story, but not only that, it's only 2 episodes long, mate.
It is.
Black Orchid. What happens in Black Orchid, Boo?
They end up at a train station, don't they?
Yeah.
And they get out and they go out of the train station and people are like, "Oh, you must be the Doctor." And the Doctor's like, "Eh?"
Yeah.
What?
Which I think is a nice setup. It's like, the Master's been expecting you. Come on, get in the car. And you're like,
"What?
What the fudge?"
And then they get there and it's actually... It was just one of those...
big social gathering, essentially, of a well-to-do...
People playing cricket.
Yes.
How convenient. The Doctor is wearing a cricket outfit.
Lord and Lady Cranley. And then you've got Anne Talbot, who is played by Sarah Sutton, which is part of the storyline.
Your auntie...
No, that won't make sense to anybody, so there's no point even going into that.
His auntie looks just like her.
There you go. And you got Sir Robert Muir and Sergeant Markham and all this stuff, and it's essentially
It was just an excuse for them to do the Charleston.
Yeah.
And play cricket.
Jonathan Turner knew that Janet Fielding could do the Charleston, so they went to the 20s.
She didn't do it fabulously, though.
It was a good... She's having fun. She's having fun.
Don't get me wrong. I can't do the bloody Charleston.
Tits and teeth. That's the important rule when it comes to dancing. Tits and teeth.
What does that mean?
Tits and teeth basically means enthusiasm. Look like you know what you're doing and have fun.
What does the tits bit mean?
Because the idea is, like, put it all out there. Tits and teeth.
What if you're a man?
But same, tits and teeth. Saying a man can't have tits.
Well, a man can have tits.
Man can have tits. Ooh.
You can have whatever you want. Just not my hat.
What? Tits in my hat.
I did mean to say cat, but I said hat instead.
I'm starting to think you didn't like this story, because you are warbling.
I'm tired.
Long story short, because it is, it's 2
See?
episodes. They're mistaken for an actual visit from a doctor.
From a doctor, yeah. And they get to this house.
And there's a cricket match, and the doctor's just like, fricking get in! Now my costume gimmick will pay off! As he whips off his coat and goes and plays a few rounds.
We're going to watch people play cricket for way too long. And Tegan's kind of getting into it, because obviously she knows what cricket is. But
Andrew and Nissa are like, none of this makes any sense.
She's like the rest of us watching Doctor Who, like, what is this?
Yeah.
And they eventually go back to the house, and it turns out they're going to be having a costume party. And
someone steals the Doctor's costume whilst he's in the shower. We get our second showering Doctor after John.
But he kept his pants on.
Well, no, he didn't keep his pants on in the shower. He's in a bathrobe, and then when you see him in full length, like in the next scene he's in, he's wearing...
He's just come out of the bathroom.
He's wearing his trousers and his shoes under the bathrobe, but that's probably because he heard the noise outside the door and he put his pants and shoes back on and went out the door.
Maybe the Doctor is actually
Maybe he'd
naked.
only just... Maybe he'd only just...
He's
you think the Doctor naked is pinstripe trousers and cricket trainers?
He's porky picking it.
He's porky picking.
But when everybody saw Nissa, they were like, "Good grief, you look just like what's it?" Which was the guy's fiance.
Anne Talbot, yes.
Yeah. And so they go back to this mansion, and
the Doctor
and they happen to have spare costumes.
The Doctor, I think,
in their size.
They figure out that this is the family related to George Cranley, who's like a celebrated travel writer.
Yeah.
So they're like, oh, right. Oh, okay. So this is a family of like very accomplished people in different positions. And,
yeah.
Okay, that's cool. Is George here? And they're like, no, George isn't here anymore. It's like, oh, okay. He's off on one of his expeditions. You're like, all right, okay. The Doctor has his costume nicked, and then when he doesn't realise that, he ends up through a secret door.
Yeah.
He finds a whole secret passage upstairs, which is obviously like a hideaway at some point from like
the monks. What was it called? It was like somewhere that they would keep
priest hole.
Priest hole. That's it. Catholic priests when
shit hit the fan.
When Protestants came to town. There was like a flyaway comment that like they used to keep a lot of them in this house because it was so big. And
someone since had obviously done up the area to use as like a secret hideout, or whatever. But he finds a body, and then
just made me think of Knives Out. If I'm completely honest, I was at the house.
But then everyone's in fancy dress, so Nissa and Anne dress up in the same thing because
to kind of mess with everybody. Yeah,
I don't know how she already ordered two versions of the same outfit.
How have they got the right size for everybody?
I don't know. But Adric's costume is very elaborate. It's basically just a billowy shirt and it.
Better than his
But to be fair, it looks different because we're so used to seeing his stupid pyjamas.
Yeah.
And Tegan's essentially dressed as like Tinkerbell. She's sort of like a fairy dress.
Yeah.
And she's doing the Charleston. The Doctor's got this sort of Pierrot clown kind of thing going on, but this clown comes down, dances with Anne, and then tries to attack her.
To take her.
And it kills one of the help. And essentially the Doctor's framed for it. And I think that's great. The best part about this is when he's been framed for the murder, and it's that whole like, right, well, where are you from then? He's like, and he just sort of gives in. He's like...
And you're not the Doctor we were waiting for.
Well, exactly. He gives in because he's like, there's no pigging way I can explain this.
When he was searching around the house trying to find out like where he was and how to get back to his room, he opens a closet door and there was a body inside.
We said that.
Did you?
You found a body upstairs.
Oh, sorry. Did you gloss over that?
Oh my god!
I glossed over it. I'm so sorry. But the lady of the house.
Yeah. She lets the Doctor take the fall.
Yeah,
we realise it's because she's covering for the real murderer. Who it
Doctor's
turns
like,
out,
there's a body upstairs, and she's like, I don't know what you're talking about.
because she has an indigenous gentleman upstairs, doesn't she?
Is it Brazilian? Is he a Brazilian?
He is Latoni, isn't it? Latoni.
Yeah.
And it turns out he is actually caring for the character's credited as the unknown, but it's George Cranley. Turns out he and Anne were betrothed originally, and because Anne is not part of the family, she's a friend of the family, and now we know why.
Yeah.
And it turned out that on one of his expeditions for his travel writing, he upset the wrong person and basically got like scarred by this tribe as like
essentially tortured, wasn't it?
Tortured and scarred, and they managed to get him out of there, but his mind has snapped, and she was keeping him a secret. The lady of the house was keeping him a secret because she was like, hopefully we can cure him. He's my son. Hopefully we can cure him. Like, maybe.
Also, think about it.
But she was happy to let the doctor take the fall for it. And obviously he just wants to get Anne back. So at the end he kidnaps Nissa thinking it's Anne, and you get a King Kong kind of scene on the it suddenly basically becomes kind of like Phantom of the Opera.
Yeah. If you think about it, in that time, a family member looking like that would have been a huge embarrassment.
Yeah, well, that's the thing too. Like, she doesn't want people to know what's happening to him.
She would rather have them think that he was dead.
Yeah, or in this case, like travelling the world. Yeah, George, yes, he's out there. And
didn't he?
I think she may have mentioned it. They gave some excuse to like why he's not around. And his scarring makeup is great. The makeup for him is really good because it's grotesque, and you feel really bad for him. But you get by the end, his hands all like warped and swollen, and his jaws all sort of swollen. His mouth's always permanently open in like this kind of this sort of almost like
he's been burnt
like the Scream
really
kind
badly.
of face. And it's you feel really bad for him, but at the same time like you're terrified at the end when he still lashes out. And you're like, oh my god, because he's just gone. Like there's no way to get through to him, and that's why she's kept him hidden because it's like you said, it's an embarrassment. It's a shame. I like the way the doctor manages to convince the police that they're innocent. They're like, right, we need to go to the police station. We need to go there now. Like, go to the train station on the way to the police station. You've got to take me to the train station because we'll show you something that'll prove who we... Because he said... Because eventually he just gives in, doesn't he? He says, we're travellers in time and space and we arrived here in our spaceship. And they're like, right, whatever, mate. He's like, right, can we stop at the train station and I'll show you. And the TARDIS is gone. And then they get to the police station and you're like, oh, balls, something's happened. Like, you realise, the police have brought the police box in.
He found a police box.
Because the train station people have obviously gone like, yeah, have one of your lot left this in the middle of the train station? Can you come get it, please?
Oh, I've left the police box at the train station.
This is one of those few instances...
Very easily portable.
But this is one of those few instances where he to characters in our past, he goes, right, here's my spaceship, come and have a look at it. Do you believe me now? It's weird, isn't it? Okay, we're going to go back to the house and we're going to solve this mystery. And then at the end, he just buggers off, and everyone's like, "Oh, I'll be damned."
That Doctor of ours.
I really enjoyed Black Orchid.
It was fun.
Even if Adric spends most of it just stuffing his stupid face.
Well,
but you know what? Kept him out of most of the plot.
Go for it, ads.
I like this one a lot. As such big fans of Adric, Earthshock. The Doctor's been Earthshock. There you go. That's the terrible pun. So
I said he'd say that joke, and he was like, "No, I'm not going to say it."
I kept the DVD cover and the menu away from Lucy before I pressed play because I wanted to give her an organic viewing of episode 1, considering the cover of this spoils the story's first big surprise.
So stupid. Even though it was on a long time ago.
Yeah, it's still kind of like...
People will still be watching it for the first time, so don't spoil it.
But it's also because they want to sell the DVD, so if the front cover's got you-know-who's on it, then it's going to shift copies. But
you-know-who's? Alright.
Doctor
Who's?
Do you know how I rate that pun? Excellent. So, there's a cave system, and people in the expedition in the cave system have gone missing and died, and there's a lady who's absolutely terrified. She doesn't know what's going on. She wants to find out what's happened to her colleagues and friends, and the military team come in, and their costumes are great, and I love the look of the team who are going to come in and basically scour the caves and find what's going on.
Yeah.
Stalking these caves are a bunch of like head-to-toe, black-clad, shadowy figures. essentially morph suits but more sinister, who seem to be bumping people off
And morph suits are quite sinister.
shooting them, and then they're just like dissolving in light, which is really creepy. The way they killed people was like, oh god, that's horrible. Meanwhile, Adric's annoyed. He wants to go home. Tegan's already been preparing herself to go back to London. But Adric's like, I want to go home. The doctor's like, right, you can't. Why? Because your home is in E-space.
You knew that.
You know that. You knew that when you came out of E-space with me. That you couldn't go back. You stowed away on our shit.
Yeah, it's your
in
own
the first place.
fault.
And he's like, I'll be fine there. Just get me there and I can meet Romana and we'll work together and everything will be great. And the doctor's like, you can't. Because the doctor knows full well that if the TARDIS gets stuck in E-space, it isn't getting out again. Like, the whole plot of Warrior's Gate was about the 1,000,000-to-1 shot they had at him getting out. That's why the parting of Romana is effective on reflection, because she ain't coming back. She's in E-space. She and K9 are in E-space. They're gone. It's a different bloody reality. Adric basically winds the doctor up enough that he parks the TARDIS and he gets out and has a mope. And Nissa and T approach him and go like, right, look, come on, just take a breather. Hear him out at least. Like, let him do the workings, hear him out.
He's annoying, I know.
Yeah,
but just let him be.
But here's the thing. Why would they be like, look, listen to him. See if he does find a way for him to get home. Why would they be like that?
They can't stand him.
Because they can't freaking stand him. So Adric, again, in a mope, tries his best, but they get to these caves and it turns out they're in the cave system. They're framed for being the murderers of these other people until they're all attacked by these shadowy life forms. Yeah. And we see one of the shadowy life forms. Yeah.
Oh my god.
Zoom its robotic vision in on the Doctor, and we get to see what's controlling them, because these things are robots. They are here to protect a bomb that has been planted within the cave system. And it turns out these robots are being controlled by
the Cybermen.
Eric Cyberman. Yeah, they're being controlled by the Cybermen.
The most evil of all the Cybermen.
The Cybermen are back. For the first time since Tom's first series. Yeah, we're talking, what was it, 1974 was the last time they were in the show, I think? So this is, we're talking a long time since we've last seen them.
Yeah.
And there are implications in this that the cyber leader from that story is the same one in this story. I can't remember if the cyber leader in that one gets blown up or not. But in this, he's like, we meet again, Doctor, even though they look completely different. Although...
Because the Doctor's just like, eh?
Yeah, arguably, it could be the royal we, though, couldn't it? Like, we meet again.
We be the Cybermen.
But they must have record of him, because they have record... Like, they go through, like, the times... For kind of a first, really, for programmes like this at the time. Like, this show's done it a couple of times subtly. But here, they just flat out show a couple clips from 10th Planet.
Yeah.
From, I think it was Tomb of the Cybermen, I can't remember.
Yeah.
And then they show a clip from Revenge of the Cybermen. You're like, wow, okay, first, second and fourth Doctor cameos on the monitor.
You've done your research.
Well done, team.
Well done.
I'm
not talking to Christopher, I'm talking to the team.
I love the design of the Cybermen from this point forward. It starts with this story. It's an iconic look. I've loved all the renditions of them, to be fair. But I do think this lot look really cool. The idea of, like, humanoid bodies, partially cybernetically enhanced. Those big, chunky heads are really visually iconic and striking. I like the silver jaw beneath the glass plate of the chin.
Yeah.
You can see the mouth moving.
Yeah, it's like
It's sort of uncomfortable and weird. It takes you back to the human hands of the first Cybermen in the 10th Planet. The idea that there is something of a human shape under there somewhere.
Yeah.
I don't care for the voices anymore.
No, that's what, threw me off.
I think, is it David Banks who plays the cyber leader?
Yeah.
I think he's having fun. Do you know what I mean? He's having a good damn time talking like this, yes. But, Mark Hardy and the other people who voice the cybers going on, just the way they speak like this, leader. You're just alright. Something's missing. I know they were kind of like this in Revenge a little bit, but...
It sounds like they're just trying to do generic robot voice.
Something's missing.
Yeah.
And that thing, Because even that was just eerie.
Yeah.
And as much as we mocked, the 10th planet, Cybermen talking like this, that's distinct and weird.
Yeah.
And now they just speak like evil villains. Ha ha ha. Excellent.
And he says that way too much.
Oh god, take a shot every time.
Oh
guys.
my god, you would die.
But yeah, the Cybermen, it turns out, it's the start of an invasion of Earth, because at this point, the Cybermen stories, it turns out, have all been happening chronologically for the Cybermen.
Mm.
So the war against the Cybermen that Earth of this time and other planets have been involved in is leaning in a direction where the Cybermen are going to lose. And their plan here is to send a scout party disguised in the satellite, which is they reverse the signal for the robots to find out where they're being controlled from, and they end up on the satellite space station. And there's a captain there with fabulous hair and a popped leather collar, and a crew of varying ages, which was really nice to see. It was and like, sexes. Oh my god, yeah! It was like, this is okay. This is different.
Genders, should I say? Sorry.
Still an awful lot of Caucasians, far overlapping any other representation on screen. But it's the 80s, different times. But they reverse there and they find that there are a bunch of cyber soldiers hidden on this satellite. But the reason for this is to make sure that this satellite crashes into Earth at a specific point on a specific day. Mm-hmm. Because there are bombs located around the planet that a chain reaction will eradicate key locations. And obviously that cave turned out to be one of them because the Doctor defuses it.
Yeah.
But the thing is, the Earth, effectively, future UN is about to meet to discuss what they're going to do next to defend themselves against the Cybermen, or to go out and fight the Cybermen within our solar system. Mm-hmm. And the Cybermen are like, right, if we attack now, it's going to cause disarray. They won't know it's us because it'll be blamed on this ship, like crash landing and sabotage and all this stuff. And then, in the unrest, they will break up. Their alliance will be nothing.
Yeah.
And we can invade.
Yeah.
And it's like, wow, so they're basically going to have Earth's countries and leaders fighting amongst themselves and take that opportunity to attack.
That's a good evil plan.
It's pretty cool. What happens as part of this is again, the Doctor and Adric are the first aboard there, and they get blamed for crew members going missing and stuff and whatnot. But eventually, it plods a little in the middle. Like, the plot's there, but it plods. Drop an episode, and it would have worked great. Episode 1 in the caves. Episode 2, the whole ship situation. Episode 3, just lift episode 4 as it is and make that episode 3. And then, because episode 4 is hands down the strongest in the story.
100%. It was really funny. We stopped watching number 2 at a certain point, and we were like, it was very, very near the end. I think I got a phone call or something, and we had to stop.
So we picked it up a couple of nights later.
Yeah, and we picked up, watched the end of that episode, and then started watching episode 3. And episode 3 started
the recap
where we'd previously stopped.
Yeah,
and it was like,
we had the last 2 minutes of episode 2.
What a waste of time.
And then it was episode 4, I think. The last 2 minutes of episode 3, I think it was. And then we suddenly were watching the same last 2 minutes in full at the start of the next episode. It was like, oh, for Pete's sake. We do sometimes fast forward through the openings to get to the bit where the cliffhanger happens.
Because we've seen this,
but
there's no need for it to be 2 minutes.
Well, it's because it was a week apart on initial viewing.
Well,
so
you
it's
should have watched it.
Oh my god! So
record it on your TiVo.
That's not how. Never mind. Back in the 80s with those TiVos, they all had apparently. So
they have colour TV though.
Of course they did.
That wasn't a real question, Lobby.
I was slightly worried then. I was like, oh my dear. So the last episode's really good because the Cyber Leader Doctor confrontations and conversations are great. Really well written and really well performed by Peter Davison and David Banks. This is the one with the famous, when was the last time you smelled a flower, enjoyed a well-cooked meal. Just the whole idea of, you don't appreciate living. Mm-hmm. All you lot as a race want to do is dominate and conquer but what's the point of like being in charge if you're not going to be alive, if you're not going to live, if you're not going to enjoy things? Like, as soon as you learn that that's more important, you'll learn that you don't need to conquer and murder and thing. You just live. What is wrong with you all? Like, do you not remember what you used to be like, you buggers? Before you started cybering yourselves up. And then the cyber leader's like, so emotion's a weakness. Like, fear's a weakness. It's like, and your friendship is a weakness. And he demonstrates it really bloody well. Like, Tegan arrives and the doctor, like, protects her. And he's like, so you value friendship? And he's like, yeah. And you say friendship is a strength. The doctor's like, yes. And Davison's great in this scene. He's proper, like, defiant, the cyber leader. Cyber leader's like, right, great. Kill the girl. And they go to kill Tegan. And, of course, the doctor is like, no, stop. And the cyber leader's like, right, leave her be. It's like, you call that a strength. And it's like, okay, these guys are evil.
Damn.
This is well done. This is really well done.
Damn.
Could say it was excellent.
But I won't.
But then we get to the denouement. They screw around with stuff. Adric gets into the computer of the ship and starts to really mess with it, and time corridors are played with, and the ship gets redirected. The escape pod is in modern... No, it's not yet, because at the start of the next story they explain that it's
Yeah.
Basically, everything gets shunted down a lovely time corridor, and the ship now indeed does crash on Earth. And in the same style as the Visitation...
It starts.
It's an event that... I mean, the Big Bang nearly happens in Castrovalva. The Visitation has the Great Fire of London and they're involved in it. And in this instance, it turns out that the asteroid that hits the Earth at the end of the Cretaceous period is this ship.
That kills the dinosaurs.
So you're like, oh! I mean, that comes the hell out of nowhere. Kind of like the Great Fire of London reveal.
But I kind of like it.
I like it, but it's also like, huh. Like,
I guess if you think about it, it makes it more personal.
It's that thing of
Not personal,
it's that thing of
relatable,
this
I suppose.
has to happen. Like, it has to happen. This crash has to go down.
Yeah.
And we get some cool Cyberman like action and violence. There's a lot of exploding chests in this. And of course, like...
Yeah, pretty good effects, really.
Adric, because they keep up the thing from the last story with the Cybermen of them being allergic to gold.
Yeah.
Like, gold can harm them. So Adric sneaks the Doctor his star for mathematical excellence, and then the Doctor, like, when they're hostage in the TARDIS, he attacks the Cyber Leader by, like, grinding the star into his chest unit. And the Doctor's, like, packing heat. He's shooting Cybermen, like, repeatedly in this
one. The Doctor... I feel like the Doctor, in general, up to, like, this point and onwards... is fine with killing people and letting people die.
If it means saving like those who are innocent,
there was
he will do it. But it's never his first option. It's literally his like last option. In this case, the Cyber Leader's in the TARDIS, and things are going to go to hell. So he grinds the gold into his chest, and whilst it's panicking, grabs its gun and blasts it repeatedly in the chest.
There was one moment in a story in this series, I can't remember what it is, where he literally stands there and watches somebody die, and it's like. What?
Goddamn dog.
What kind? Who is this Doctor?
A Doctor who hates the people he's travelling with.
Well, yeah.
Because Adric's calculations are what do the time corridor, and of course he doesn't know if it worked or not, because he doesn't get to see. Now we'll never know if I was right. And the ship crashes into Earth. And Adric, explodes, and then it's going to crash into Earth, and Adric dies.
Adric is on the ship and dies.
Alongside some Cybermen that are like, dying, and that Cyberman that gets like stuck in the door, like with the ray thing, and it's like stuck out through the door. Yeah. Adric dies, and at that moment, you, who has despised this character, and was not really interested in the story bar like episode 1 and most of episode 4, you went, "Wait, what?" And I went, "Huh?" And you said, "Is he dead?" I went, "Yeah." Sorry. And I don't think you took it as a dead cert. Until those silent, bloody credits ran over the crumpled star.
Because when people die, people don't die in things, do they, nowadays? But
it's really
stupid.
They
had balls. They had balls and they did it.
Yep.
And then he's never mentioned again.
It would be lovely if it was for a character we gave a shit about.
He was so... He got really sassy and rude and...
petulant.
Annoying.
They kind of... reverse his age this series and make him a brat. Even though last series he's nowhere like this.
I mean,
he's cheeky.
He's still annoying.
He's cheeky, but he's in the
useful.
wrong. But he's only ever in the wrong in a way that like a kid would be with mistaken assumption of things.
Yeah.
But you can't say he's a genius and then have him relentlessly make a horrible and reckless decision. Or side with the villains a lot and things like that. I admire. I think I'm with you. I admire the stones on them for killing him. Mm-hmm. My reaction to it, and when I turned to you and said, "By the way, it's not the last story in the series. There's one more story." I think both our sort of feelings in regards to that were like, "Oh, good, okay. Let's see this. Let's see how this goes without Adric now."
Not gonna lie, that's not how I felt.
Oh, how did you feel?
I felt, oh god, there's another story!
And that story is Time Flight. Care to explain the basic plot of Time Flight? Well, for starters, we mustn't mourn necessarily.
No, they seem to get over Adric's death
rather
quickly. It is mentioned at the beginning, but then that's about it.
Well, we find out that between the end of Earthshock and the start of this, they've got the escape pod of like the captain and stuff from the satellite, and they've taken them back to their own time. Because the TARDIS is very slowly and conveniently becoming more accurate.
Yeah.
When the plot needs it to.
Yeah.
Have you noticed?
Yeah.
There's no direct transition into it being a smooth sailing.
You've got no excuse for like getting to a place where you're meant to be.
Yeah.
Whereas now that he does, you don't see it. I don't think.
Mm.
But none of what I just said made sense. But
no.
I know what I mean, and that's the most important
we know
thing.
you know what you mean, and that's very kind of you. You make a great broadcaster.
Oh, Jesus!
Jesus, take the wheel!
When Christopher and I got together, when we were together when Christopher started acting and stuff, I got wool on my toe and it scared me.
Oh my god!
I remember sitting at a table with you and Guy, and we were having a drink in a pub. And Guy was, I think this was the first time I met Guy.
Oh, was it the pub in Ealing?
Maybe the second one.
Pub in Ealing, yeah.
First social meeting with lovely Guy. And
Guy Lambert, who did 9 is 10 with me, the Doctor Who commentary series, look it up here on YouTube.
He asked me if I was an actor as well. And I was like, no, absolutely not. And people have thought that we met in, like, the business. And, like, absolutely not. Absolutely not. I am not in the business whatsoever.
She found me in the catalogue.
I would have been chucked out of the business if I tried. So I'm not a good broadcaster. Anyway, I forgot what I was talking about.
Time Flight! They get to Heathrow. Well, first we see that a Concorde has gone missing.
It's gone missing, yeah.
It's meant to arrive at Heathrow, and then suddenly it just blinks out of the instruments, and we see it fade away. Yeah. They arrive at Heathrow, and you're like, oh my god, is Tegan going to leave now too? Are we finally getting to this point? Because they mustn't mourn him necessarily. I think they're aiming for it. I can't remember.
Home.
Yeah. No, because he tries to take him on holiday, doesn't he? He's like, we're going to go somewhere else. We're going to go somewhere really relaxing and just sort of take our minds off of it.
Does it?
And it gets brought there, and I think it's because of the temporal whatever. I don't know. Like in the 2011 series of Doctor Who, it's excused by the TARDIS in human form but I always took you where you needed to go. So
yeah, let's just go with that.
So they're out at Heathrow, and of course security are like, right, unidentified random things just showed up in one of the terminals. And they get there, and the Doctor's like, you can see the frustration from 2 stories ago of, oh, bollocks, like, how the hell do I deal with the monotony of having to explain who we are without saying who we are? And then it just hits him, and he goes, that bit is brilliant. He just goes, unit! And they're like, what? And he's like, unit! Call division, blah, 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 blah. The head of the communications thing is this, and tell him to give Brigadier Lethbridge Stewart my regards. And you're like, well done, mate. You've just remembered.
Unless he's captain.
Unless he's captain by now. But like, you're his scientific advisor. You're their scientific advisor from around this time in history. You can absolutely blag your way out of this, absolutely. And he does. And then Unit, who they'd apparently already been in touch with regards to missing Concorde, say, well, he's our scientific advisor. Like, talk to him.
Yeah. So
essentially, this is a Unit story without Unit in it.
Which I would have appreciated Unit.
Yeah, but at the same time, like, I get it. It'd be extra layers on top of the cake, wouldn't it? So, Captain Stapley, or Stapley, and his flight engineers, Scobie, and First Officer Bilton, are like, yeah, so our other Concords gone missing. Like, what are we going to do? And the Doctor's like, right, I have an idea. I think there's a time slip. So what we're going to do is we're going to go in another Concorde and we're going to do the exact same flight and see what happens.
Yeah.
And the exact same thing happens. They disappear. They basically like circle round, then come back to Heathrow, and they vanish at the exact same time.
With the TARDIS on board.
With the TARDIS on board, which is a nice visual, where it's in the cargo hold and it's on its side.
It's on its side.
The Doctor first goes in, and it's on its side, and he like goes up to the console manages to flick something, and then it like inside it goes to the right way up, and he's like,
do you know, I never thought about that. That only happens inside. That's very cool.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
It's a nice little detail. I like that a lot. So it turns out they're on prehistoric Earth. Back to prehistoric Earth.
Oh god, they're all linked.
Sometime toward the end of the Jurassic era this time.
No, it's Adric.
And the passengers and hostesses and crew of the previous Concorde are all in a trance and helping to build something in a citadel that's just inexplicably there.
They're seeing something else.
They're seeing other things, yeah. They're not walking around like zombified.
They think they're in New York.
Yeah.
Because the air hostess is like, oh...
Well, they're all thinking different stuff.
Me and Thea are going to lunch or whatever. Are you coming with us?
Yeah.
And it's like, what?
Because when they first get there, they're like, oh, no, we're back at Heathrow until Tegan... I think Tegan first sees, like, bodies.
No,
like Tegan or Nissa sees, like, bodies somewhere.
Yeah.
Skeletons. So... they all realise it's a mesmer, like it's a hypnotic like illusion, and they all concentrate on a specific point and concentrate really hard on it, and they start to see the cracks, and like the motorway disappears and the runway disappears, and they're in the prehistoric era. But this other crew is still behaving like you say. They think they're going about meetings, and
they've got off their flight and they're where they're meant to be.
But really, they're like helping to build this thing for some weird alien creature called Khalid, whose design is very cool, but the cultural appropriation of a certain look and style is made only more apparent by the fact that the fake teeth worn by the actor cause his voice to sort of whistle a certain way, and it
doesn't sit right.
No, it isn't Talons of Weng Chiang. But it echoes something like that.
It stood next to it.
And I don't think it's down necessarily to the performer of Khalid.
I think it is.
I think it's down to the trappings of the part.
I think it's to do with
he's not playing it as an Asian stereotype.
He is a little bit.
I don't know.
Stop trying to worm your way around.
I don't know. I mean, again, I'm white, so I'm maybe not picking up on certain things others do. Let me know down in the comments.
I am also white.
You're whiter
from my translucent foot. I think that the way he moves, the way he does his, the gesturing he does.
Well, he seems to be a conjurer, a wise man of sorts, hearkening to kind of like ancient sorcery.
Yeah.
Basically, what we're saying is there's a bit of unfortunate Mandarin.
It's not aged well.
I don't think it aged well at the time. I think there's a bit of unfortunate, like the Mandarin meets God, what's the guy from Flash Gordon, Emperor Ming, based on who's playing him and how it's designed, kind of a bit of unfortunate. It's a bit Yellow Peril, is what we're saying. It's like, oh, that's upsetting. Why would you do that? But he's an interesting, like, design for him, and he's definitely a devious little kind of horrible character. Like this sort of sorcerer that seems to be putting everybody under a spell to work for him to find something. He's also commanding this thing called like plasmoids, these things in the air. They're essentially like these rock sort of foam creatures. That he can use. He's controlling like a psychic persuasion thing, but you realise that he can only control so much of it. And when they trap Nissa, they start talking to her. Yeah. And she realises, oh my god, they're reaching out, they're calling out for help. Like, whatever these creatures come from, there's more of them wherever they are actually trapped in that citadel. We've got to get in. So Nissa and Tegan managed to get in and find essentially this like computer bank, which we learn later is full of an entire species who were long dead, needed physical form again. They needed time to regenerate to a new physical form. And the only way that was going to happen is if they, whatchamacallit, get on out of that. Sorry, I'm going to have to very quickly check because we don't have much battery left. Temporary camera change because it's just going to take too long to render. So what are we up to? Okay, it's the plasmoids. They're being controlled a certain way. Turns out there are species that need to regenerate inside the computer thing, but someone has got hold of them and stopped them from doing that, and is even splitting them into good and bad for their own purpose, for his own purpose. Khalid, who is a professor there who's snapped out of the trance because he's like, oh, I'm an expert in psychology and hypnosis, and I figured out there was something happening.
I'm all round brilliant.
Basically, someone's messing with their minds, and even he's figuring it out. And what Doctor Who villain is synonymous with mind control? Albeit in the past he's not done that great with it, but whatevs.
The Master.
The Master! Yep, he's bookending the season, he's back.
Master of Disguise.
Khalid gets sort of obliterated, kind of, and after melting, it's revealed that he's the Master in a disguise.
The Doctor stands there and watches him die.
Yeah, that was weird, wasn't it? What was also weird is, like, about 10 minutes before that happened, so this is in episode 2, about 10 minutes before that happened, you turned to me and you went, he's the Master, isn't he? I went, what makes you think that? And you didn't actually say. What made you think it was him?
I can't remember.
But yeah, it's the Master. I don't understand. No, Doctor. You never do. You never do. What the hell's happening? I don't understand. Your face was slimy. Why is it clean? No, your beard is real pristine. That
was good.
Thanks. Is the Master. He's got stuck here. His TARDIS is buggered. So he's managed to land at this point where this ship has crashed, the plasmoids, and he's taking advantage of their technology, harnessing it all to pull X, Y, and Z through a time loop. Essentially, he's trying to get out being stuck. The whole point of this was to lure the Doctor there.
Yeah.
So that the TARDIS, which of course has the parts he needs, would be there for him to cannibalise. And it's funny because his TARDIS is still just a column.
Yeah.
Although it does change at one point during this to the other Concorde, which we then learn was never really there anyway.
I don't really get that.
Neither do I.
Because it was... Because
it definitely disappeared. That's how the mystery started.
Where did it go? All the people came off it.
It doesn't... It becomes tough to understand what the feck is happening toward the end.
It forgets it's a kids' show again.
But... bonus points, the Master is wonderfully petty in this.
Yeah.
He's a bitchy panto villain. The Captain is a delight, because the actor is going for it. But we noticed a running undercurrent thread with his character, which is basically, this guy wants to shag the Doctor.
Yeah, definitely.
The way he's playing it is he's completely enamoured with the Doctor in every possible way. He's charmed by him. Like, just subtleties of movement. Like, the Doctor comes up to him and then will, like, walk away. And the actor always kind of, like, follows him, like, it's like he wants to go, wait. Like, he's always kind of, like, he's happier whenever the Doctor's around him.
And one of the other captains is trying to get him out of... There's an amazing bit of acting where he is talking to the captain of the other Concorde and trying to get him out of this trance. But he...
Oh, no, it's not the captain, it's one of his men, isn't it? He's gone back into it or something.
No, it's the
other captain
from the other ship.
The other Concorde.
Concorde, yeah. And he suddenly starts to get suckered into...
Like, slipping back into it,
and then slipping out again. And the way his face changes and the way his voice changes, it's really well done. We were very impressed at that point.
He snaps and then he's like, oh, wait a minute, no, hang on, this is not going to... Flight 419, is this... But it's not played for comedy, it's like,
it's like,
oh, shoot!
That's kind of scary.
Yeah.
But then, is it the Professor or is it another one of his crew?
The Professor kind of
It's like, remember, and he's like, remember the Concorde? And he's like, the Doctor! And he's like, the Doctor! And it's like, yes! God. You're one true love.
He's got an Adric web boner. Adric makes a surprise brief appearance as a hallucination, because there are clues just before we see the Master that, you know, it's somebody who can get into their heads and maybe know something about them.
Yeah.
Because Tegan and Nyssa are on the way into the thing briefly hallucinate. Although, now we realise it's not the Master who sent them after him, it's just kind of the hallucinations of the psychic thing, plasmoids, whatever. We see Adric briefly, and he's an evil hallucination. And then we see the Melkur from last series, and then we see
Is it kind
a
of
pterodactyl.
like a defense?
No, sort of a defense mechanism.
It must be the Master, because it's only...
Well, the Master never met the pterodactyl. So how would he know about that? Well, we were talking about that. We said that one of them should have been the Master,
Yeah.
Because then you wouldn't think of it at all. Would you just be like, oh, it's kind of like a, it's using last year's finale to kind of give us stuff to be like, oh no.
Turn back now.
Yeah, and then when it's revealed to be the Master, you would have been like, oh my god, no, it is actually the Master.
Yeah.
But instead, it's like, wait a minute, the Melker. Why would they use that aside from it was probably the prop cupboard? So yes, there is that. And the ending. Did you see that coming? They get back, they explain everything away, and then Tegan goes for a stroll into Heathrow for reasons.
To reminisce. She's where she was trying to get to be.
We see her toying with getting on a flight to Melbourne.
Melbourne, yeah.
It's like maybe going back to her family, because it's established in the series that like her family are in Australia. It was just like her and her aunt that were over here. Mm-hmm. And it's like, oh my god, she's thinking of going back. And then at the end, the police box vanishes. They're trying to get away from the police. The TARDIS vanishes, like, so the Doctor's doing explaining after they sort of temporarily trap the Master. Because basically, they defeat the Master by giving. They've trapped the Master by giving him basically like replacement parts that the Doctor has put limitations on. Yeah. So basically, he's stuck within a certain point, and he ain't getting out there anytime soon.
The Doctor's TARDIS will arrive before his.
Yeah. To make sure that they can make sure. It's that way they can make sure that the trap he sprung on the Master's TARDIS will work, and you see it like arrive, and then they disappear, and it disappears, and he's like gone.
And the Master is supposedly trapped.
Yeah.
Somewhere.
But then Tegan runs back over and is like, "What the hell?" And you suddenly realise, oh, they've left Tegan behind.
And the captain's like, "I thought you were going with them."
He's like,
and she's like,
"So did I." End of the season.
That makes me sad that they left Tegan.
But they left her where she's been begging to go for a whole series.
They didn't go back and say, "Oh, Tegan, do you want to stay here? Or do you want to come with us?"
Mates, chum.
If it turns out that he was... that like they dematerialized without... like the Doctor doing it, like it just dematerialized.
Oh right, yeah, it was just like part of the trap or whatever.
Yeah, that would be if that's how it's explained. Then
what you're saying is it feels a bit harsh that they just left Tegan.
Yeah,
because of course we don't cut back into the TARDIS to see either.
Which is what makes me think that maybe it happened by accident. But
well, you will find out in the next story arc of Infinity. But what do you know going forward?
Nothing.
You know nothing.
Absolutely.
Jon Snow.
I know that Adric's not in it anymore.
Yeah, he's
I know that Nissa's in it.
Yeah.
And I know that Tegan comes back at some point.
Yes.
Sorry, spoilers.
For a 30-odd-year-old season. 40-odd-year-old season, nearly.
That's all I know.
Yeah. Well,
I'm assuming the Master pops up again at some point.
Yes. I think, off the top of my head, twice more in the Fifth Doctor's era.
That's good. That's not too many times.
No, might be three more.
That's too many times.
well, one of them's in the big special, so that doesn't count.
Yeah, that doesn't count.
He's like the sort of the secondary antagonist.
I remember that. Yeah.
But yeah, that was season 19. I don't love it. I when I started this rewatch, I knew that there were certain parts of the Fifth Doctor's era that I was like, made me not revisit it very often anyway. But I was going into this with fresh eyes of, let's see how I feel. And I'm sad to report, I kind of feel the same as I always have about this era. Adric's irritating to me. Nyssa is so unnecessary to me. Tegan spends most of it being annoyed that she's not going home, which is one of the most frustrating things for me to watch in any Doctor Who character. It's why I hate the kids in Nightmare in Silver. It's why I hate how Clara's so casually like, pick me up next Wednesday, yeah? Alright, see you later. It's like, no, you've got the chance of a lifetime to go off into time and space with this amazing individual in their spaceship. And you're pissing and moaning the whole time. So, we're with the TARDIS crew I don't really care about. And a Doctor who at this point is really fun. Like, this is Peter's first series and you can absolutely see the potential of him being a really good Doctor. But he spends most of this just being annoyed at his crew. And that's like a really boring trait for the Doctor to have. I know Hartnell was like that, but we then watched him grow. We watched him be a crotchety old git and grow to be a twinkly grandpa character. Whereas now it's just the young dashing guy is like a frustrated, bored supply teacher who can't get the class to shut up.
That's a great description, to be fair.
Would you say this is your least favourite season so far?
So far, the whole thing, yeah.
Yeah.
There's
some gems in there. My favourite story?
Probably Black Orchid.
Yeah. Followed by Kinder, probably?
Yeah, maybe, yeah.
And then the Visitation.
Yeah.
The Black Death. Pterodactyl.
They were... Oh, maybe the other way around.
So basically, the 3 middle stories were the ones you liked.
Yeah. The rest of them... We've seen those stories before. And it's like...
Not just in Doctor Who, to its credit. Like, they're just very common... They're very common tropes in a lot of sci-fi shows.
And I understand that we are hundreds of episodes in now.
Yeah, we are.
And there's only so many stories you can tell without starting to repeat yourself, unfortunately.
Well, hundreds of stories in. Not hundreds, like over 100-ish in, I think, at this point.
But, I don't know, I couldn't connect. I could not connect with them. The Doctor, I think, is quite good.
Mm-hmm.
I quite like Peter.
Well, that's good news. Thank you.
He's always out of breath. Same as me. But it's because I'm fat. Anyway. But he's just playing too much cricket, you know what I mean? But
oh my God.
Anyway, I do not like Adric. I didn't like him from the start. I thought he was a whingy child, and then he was really smart, too smart, and then he got really rude, and I just did not like that. He was so unlikable. I was ready for him to go.
Yeah.
And normally, I would have been so sad if a companion had died. There hasn't been a companion that I've hated.
Mm.
And when they've left, I've always felt a little bit, oh, that's sad.
But even Sarah Jane, who you sort of you had a predilection for not liking.
She wasn't my favourite.
When she left, you were like, oh, actually sad she's gone now.
Yeah, because...
she and Tom were so bloody enjoyable.
A good connection.
Mm.
Whereas Adric, no, he was just irritating. He wasn't supposed to be there from the start. He wasn't invited. He just stowed away.
Maybe that's it. It's because he just lumps in with them, and then in State of Decay they're like, oh, balls, he's here? Oh, I guess we have to save him. And then he's stuck with him, and then he's like, I want to go home to that planet I ran away from, because it's crap, and it's just full of people on a spaceship that's never going to take off.
It's just a pain in the ass. Nyssa, I feel, from the start, apart from the story, what's it called? Her first story.
Keeper of Traken.
Keeper of Traken. I love that story. That was great. Is it Keeper of Traken?
Keeper of Traken, her first story, with Anthony Ainley as Treemass.
Yes,
yeah.
yes.
And the Melkur.
Yes. I loved that story. And then when she came back, I said to you, I was like, oh, is this how it happens? It's just like, oh, I'm
And I've been sent here to look into things.
Yeah, why? No reason. She's completely pointless. Bless her heart, it's not her fault.
Sarah Sutton. Sarah Sutton is doing what she can with
literally nothing.
Below minimal material.
Yeah.
She's been given sod all to do, and she's trying so hard, bless her.
You can kind of see that she switches off sometimes, because she's obviously not... She's got nothing to engage with. There's just nothing.
Well, there's that little bit where they talk about them getting bits for the Master's TARDIS. And Tegan's like, is he going to have those things for the Master? And Nyssa goes, well, that's the Doctor. He's very good at picking up spare parts. And the way that Nyssa delivers it is it kind of feels like a diss.
Mm.
But it isn't. Because, there's been no hint before this of Nyssa being like, oh, he's always picking up people along the way.
Yeah.
You're the latest of the 3 that joined. What do you mean? That's just... And I wonder whether it was Sarah Sutton being given bad direction or reading too much into it, or whether or not her delivery was just a bit crap at that moment.
I feel like she's gotten complete... I feel like her delivery's cold now.
Yeah, it's almost like she's playing I'm the smart one.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's kind of... Which would be fine if it were like Romana.
Mm. Yeah.
Where she has a sass, she has a confidence.
She is better than the Doctor.
She's quite rude at times.
She is better than the Doctor, and she knows it.
Yeah, whereas Nyssa's just kind of, I'm a genius. And you're like, huh.
Right.
And the thing is, we know Sarah Sutton can do really well, because she's great in Black Orchid as Anne. She's wonderful. She really gets into that whole, ripping good fun, into that spirit. And it's like, you're a great performer. I just wish that Nyssa gave you more to do. Again, she's seeing the man using the face of her dead father again in this story. And we don't get a single... Nyssa should be the one who's like the doctor's like, we're going to make the deal with the master, and Nissa's like snatching the weapon and being like, no. Like, she should lose her shit when she sees the master.
I mean, her plan.
So you're wearing my father's face, you monster. Like, she should really be like, she should be da 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 da. Then they see the master and she just snaps.
Yeah, definitely.
Wow, so like
Jesus.
Sort of like a more seeded version of. Do you remember series 11?
Stop.
When they see Tim Shaw again, the Tim Jar, whatever the fuck it was called, pardon my language. And Graham's suddenly like, when we meet him, Doc, I'm going to kill him.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And it's like, yeah, I mean, it comes sort of out of nowhere because Graham spends the season kind of like coming to terms, especially in the story directly before it takes you away, come to terms with the fact that Grace is gone.
But it's relatable.
But then suddenly he's like, I'm gonna kill him.
It's relatable though, because you would want to do that, wouldn't you? You would want revenge on the person that.
But what I'm saying is, Nissa's got that more deep rooted. Like the last we saw her talking about this was in sort of Legopolis, where she's like, how dare he? And then in Castrovalva she doesn't really bring it up, and then this she doesn't bring it up at all.
Her bloody planet is destroyed in this series.
Is Traken gone?
Traken is destroyed.
Oh, does the master like make a throwaway reference to something? It's like, yes, I killed it. It's all gone. Bye.
Something like that. And
we have to wrap up soon because we've had low battery on here as well.
It's barely referenced.
Yeah.
I think she mentions it twice, and it's like, oh.
Long story short, season 19.
Tegan's all right because she's more relatable because she's like, I don't understand what's going on, but she always leaves the bloody TARDIS.
Stay here. Don't follow me. Well, I'm already there.
She doesn't want to be unsafe. She wants to go home, so she keeps following the doctor around. Bloody hell, there's a swimming pool. Go for a swim, Tegan. Go for a nap.
Go sit in the cloister room. You know that room you got lost in and got really scared of? Go sit in it for a bit, read a book. I'm not a fan of season 19. I don't see myself revisiting much of this. No. I'm excited for us to watch season 20.
Do you know what?
Would you like to know? Well,
I'm not excited.
As a little enticer, would you like to know who the returning villains are in season 20? Do you think that'll tickle your pickle?
Cool.
Omega comes back.
Oh.
Yes. The second and only, so far only other story with Omega is in the next season. Ooh. The Mara comes back. We have a sequel to Kinder with the Mara. Oh. The Master will return in a bizarre and wonderful setting. But also, something the Doctor's been running from for a few years will finally get wrapped up. Because in the middle of the series, we have the Black Guardian trilogy.
Oh, God, that's been going on for ages.
The reason we have a bunch of bad guys returning is because after next season, we get the anniversary special. But we will cross that bloody lovely Patrick Troughton flavoured bridge when we come to it. What do you think of season 19 of Doctor Who? Did you get the Blu-ray remaster? Do the new documentaries make you enjoy it or appreciate it more? Have you never liked it in the first place? Let us know down below. We'll be back soon-ish. But until then, stay toasty.
Keep watching the stars.
Neither of those are our catchphrase. Bye!
Bye!